Hello, you're listening to Food Rebels and welcome. This is the podcast that brings you brands, chefs and live on-air tastings. A show that's dedicated to the more rebellious side of the food world where we celebrate the people who have challenged the status quo. We'll be giving you a peek behind the curtains and inside the minds of the people who are shaking up our food industry. You know me, I'm the show host, AJ Sharp, taste expert, food writer, great taste food judge and of course business owner. I love meeting new people and tasting new foods. So, sit back as we hear more stories from people in food who dare to be different.
Well, hello, everyone. I am really excited that this week we have got Richard Parson from Fudge Kitchen on the show. Welcome, Richard.
Hi, AJ. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. Richard and I go way back. Fudge Kitchen is absolutely iconic in my local city of Canterbury. It's like the treat whenever you had to go to the cathedral was to go to Fudge Kitchen afterwards. But there's shops, isn't there, in Bath, York, Windsor. So I'm sure there are people all over the UK that are really familiar with this incredible brand and feel the same way. But I mean, you guys have been crafting fudge for, is it 40 years now?
Just a little bit over 43 this year.
43,
Yeah.
That's incredible. What has kept this incredible brand so special and so relevant for so long?
I think it kind of breaks the mold of what people think of fudge, what they actually think fudge is. The business was founded by a, by all accounts, crazy American back in the 80s who brought the business to the UK. It's so theatrical, which you don't normally get. It's a proper old-fashioned spectacle, really. And then in the subsequent 4 decades, especially under the stewardship of Sian Holt, who we affectionately refer to as our proper founder. And she continued the ethos of, you see it being made and it's, keep it clean, you be nice to people, and the fudge tastes great. That's kind of what underpins everything. And I think that's what kind of makes it so iconic, is we've never backtracked on any of those things.
Yeah, that's nice. And you talk about breaking the mold, and I love that on this show because obviously we're all about food rebels. How would you say that you guys have been rebellious with fudge?
Oh, I think that for us, it's that it kind of, it goes back to the kind of principles. It's the product is sustainable, it's all natural, it's clean label, it's delicious, and there is so much junk sweets out there. It is absolutely the opposite. There's no nasties that go into it, and especially considering I think our key customers are luxury department stores, specialty food retailers, and experiential retailers as well. There's sometimes I think the idea that luxury food or kind of fine food can sometimes be a bit exploitative, especially in the sweets and confectionery market, and we've never kind of clawed back or gone back on those kind of principles. So that even if you're buying our product in our shop in Canterbury or off the shelves in Harrods or other iconic department stores like that, it's the same great taste and quality regardless of where you buy it. We don't water anything down. There's no fillers or anything. It's always good.
And it's pure, isn't it? I mean, it's a treat. There's no two ways. It's butter and sugar. Let's be honest, it's a treat. But but it's good butter. It's proper butter and it's proper sugar.
It's locally sourced butter and great British sugar.
I like that though. That's important. I think, if you're going to have a treat, have a good treat that, like you say, is clean label.
100%.
Now, when I met you a few years back now, you were the marketing and communications manager, weren't you?
Yep.
And you are now the managing director of Fudge Kitchen. So can you talk me through? I mean, this hasn't been a straight road, has it?
No. So, it seems like a whirlwind, but also a lifetime, really. I joined Fudge Kitchen at a really interesting time. I joined the first week of January 2020.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah,
so
really.
The world ended
really
2 months later.
Yeah. I mean, that literally was a lifetime ago, if you ask anyone. I came from a very different background. I've always been in brand and marketing, but I've worked with a lot. I worked in tech and defense. Interesting background. Yeah. But then I always loved heritage brands. My whole thing was kind of like I worked a lot with the city of Rochester, doing like kind of civic marketing. And then I used to be an antique dealer, completely random, like string of things that bring it to you, they kind of bring you to this world. I know, it's ridiculous. And then I joined Fudge Kitchen and it felt like a really good fit. And I had all these ideas for kind of continuing to kind of grow the social media and really thinking about community for the business. We've always had such a kind of engaged and militant at times kind of customer base, and leveraging that for growth is something I really wanted to do. The main focus for us was on kind of looking at the business overall and looking at the different ways that we could act as sustainably as possible, because we were a pretty green business, but we could do better. And under Sian's leadership, that was my kind of main priority. So kind of 2022 was to focus on that, helped see through a new rebrand. And then in the middle of 2022, announced that the business was becoming employee owned and she was going to step away from the business.
I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? So employee owned, when I think of that, I think of John Lewis and how they say, we don't have employees, we have partners.
Yeah.
So that literally means that everyone that works at Fudge Kitchen, does this mean the people making fudge on the shop floor to people in your factory facility to all you guys, you all have, is it like an equity stake? Like you all own a little share of the business?
It's slightly, and we're part of an employee-owned trust model, so we don't have shareholders. We have a board of trustees who own all the shares, and look after them on behalf of all of the employees. But we are all entitled to a share of the profits each year.
Amazing,
and it is every single person. As soon as you've finished a probation period of 6 months, you are entitled from that point onwards. And the idea is that everyone's collective involvement in the business contributes to the profit we get back out of it. Around Christmas time, we usually do a kind of additional profit share with all the staff, and it's a flat rate based on hours worked. So I get the same amount as anyone who's on full time. It splits like that. So
that's great.
It's quite nice.
And have you noticed that that's made a difference to your team? Do you find that people are more engaged? They're more excited about the business? Has it helped profits? Have they gone up as a result?
They have. I mean, it definitely is. I think one of the most interesting things is that when Sian announced the employee ownership move and that it was happening, the general consensus was a kind of feeling of thank you. Everyone was really kind of appreciative that they always felt like the work that they'd put in and the dedication had been recognised. And one of the things we kept hearing was people saying, well, we always felt like it was our business, even if it wasn't, because of the nature of the business and the way it works. And so it felt like a very natural fit. The transition after employee ownership was a little bit trickier because, unfortunately, after Sian made the announcement, she suffered a sudden illness, double aneurysm, which had her kind of taken out of the business immediately rather than the transition period that we had planned. But again, I think people massively stepped up to kind of help fill the void, because even if we hadn't transitioned to employee ownership, we all thought it was our business. We all treated it like it was. I don't think it would have made any difference. But having that seal of approval and knowing it's what she wanted for us to do just made everyone that more kind of driven to do right by her. And she's making a remarkable recovery now. And she's kind of keeping an eye on things, which is brilliant. And it is funny. Like I think with the attitudes towards employee ownership, because I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I had a manager from one of our shops phoned and said, oh, I can't get the meter readings changed or something with our new energy company, because when they phoned up, they asked to speak to the owner, and the person that works on a Saturday said, well, I'm a business owner, and now the energy company will only talk to the business owner who only works one day a week on a Saturday.
That's amazing.
Brilliant. I mean, it's great. It has its ups and downs.
That is amazing. Oh, fantastic. And that was the point that you stepped up and have taken over the role of managing director and driving things since then.
Yeah, I stepped into the role of marketing and brand director shortly after we made the transition. And Sian's husband did a kind of interim period of just steering the elements that needed steering as a company owner before the transition period happened. And then shortly afterwards, it was in April of last year, that I stepped into the role, officially as managing director, but had been doing behind the scenes elements for a little while. I worked very closely with Sian, and learned a hell of a lot from her, and I've subsequently learned I have her blessing to do it, which is very, very valuable to me.
She is amazing, lady. Incredible. I'm so pleased to hear that she's making good progress. Fudge Kitchen, I think people know this brand. It's beautiful, handmade fudge. It's really cool. It's really fun going to watch it being made on the kind of marble slabs in the shops. And it's sort of this kind of alchemaic magic of it all being turned and turned and turned. And then just suddenly this gooey liquid has turned into this beautiful fudge. And I don't quite know how it happens, but it's very clever and it's magic as far as I'm concerned. I mean, what's the secret though? Because you're making the fudge in a very traditional way, but you seem to somehow have created this brand that's actually quite modern in a way. And it's, you're coming up with some really exciting stuff there, but it is this really like traditional fudge. You've got these like huge, I don't know what you call them, like ladly type things as you turn it.
It's entirely about people. I think we've always been completely people focused. Our product is made, they said, in store every single day. The method dates back to the 1860s and that hasn't changed, but it's incredibly versatile a format. It is just whipping cream, sugar and water. We don't traditionally use butter in the traditional slab fudge. That was the kind of change in the recipe that was adopted in the UK. Because our recipe is originally American.
Oh, okay.
It's all to do with the temperature. And obviously once it's all boiled up, it's poured onto a marble table. And it's all about the big creamer, we call it, the large kind of spatula they use on the marble table. It's used to break down the sugar crystals to give it that signature smooth texture. And that is kind of iconic and unique to Fudge Kitchen. And because of it being 3 main ingredients, you can put any sort of flavouring into it. All of our kind of fruity flavours are made using fresh fruit. We make a lot of kind of sherbet fudges using malic acid to give it that slight fizz. Some fudge has amazing cocktail mixes in it, lots of kind of alcohol. And then
I came in at Christmas and there was gingerbread, there was a Black Forest gatto, there was so many different flavours. And my daughter, who is 9, and me, who I feel like I'm 9 when I'm in there, and we're just like, one of those and one of those and one of those. So good.
I mean, why we can't have Bailey's fudge on the menu all year round, I do not know why. It is so good. I think it's better than the actual drink. But it's, I mean, we're doing this weekend, celebrate International Women's Day. We've just launched a new cherry and white chocolate fudge, which is a really rich cherry fudge that has a layer of tempered white chocolate poured over the edge. You have this sort of crack chocolate over the top. It's been very, very popular, and it won our New Year, New Flavour competition this year, which we run every single year to pit the different shops against each other to come up with the best flavour.
Yeah, I love that. And I like watching that on your Instagram. I always think your Instagram's great, the way it feels like. And I think does actually, a lot of the content is made by people on the shop floor, isn't it?
Yeah,
which I love. I love the way it has that feeling of like 2 people having a bit of fun, creating some different flavours and things like that. You feel like you're kind of part of something.
Yeah, I visited our shop in Bath at the weekend. And you walk in, and the minute someone comes over the threshold, they're kind of like, don't worry about him, he works here. And you end up kind of falling against the wall because they are so dedicated to making an experience for people. And our teams they're absolutely full of actors, musicians, massive drama queens. But they're amazing. I mean, that's why one of the things we've always kind of most proud of is you go on TripAdvisor, look at things to do in the cities where we have shops, and we're often in the top 3 until they changed the rules on TripAdvisor that we now have to fall into food outlets rather than a shop. Our shop was higher than Windsor Castle. Things to do in Windsor. It's great.
It is great, and you get a great welcome. The minute you walk through the door, somebody says hello to you. Somebody says, oh, do you want to try anything? Before you've even thought about why you're in the shop, you've been offered something to try. We've got a new flavour today, or I've just whipped up a batch of such and such, and you have a little taster of something. And before you know it, you've tried 3 different fudges and you're agreeing to buy a whole box of 6 because just
How we get
because.
you.
And you kind of walk away. Exactly. And you walk away and you're a bit like, I don't really know whether I needed 6 huge slabs of fudge, but I'm really pleased I've got them.
Yeah.
I feel much better now I have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, we have staff are known by name. It's kind of, we've got one of our colleagues, Dan, who's been with the business for, I want to say 35 years. He looks after all of our shows. So he goes and does, I think we have Ideal Home Show coming up next week. He'll be at that. He does the horse trials, Chelsea Flower Show, and people come for him, and they're devastated if they don't get to see him.
Really? That's amazing. I can see that. I mean, we stayed chatting to the gentleman who was serving us at Christmas just because he was so friendly, and he was like, come on, my friends, come and stand over here next to me and I'm going to keep giving you bits and bobs. And it was just, we just had the best time. But you guys, you've got a whole range that you're developing at the moment, haven't you? Because you guys have sent me some, what have you sent me here? Rock salted peanut brittle, handmade in small batches, and some raspberry coconut ice as well, which looks fantastic. So what's the kind of thinking behind this range?
So for anyone who doesn't know, with Fudge Kitchen, so we have our 6 shops around the country which make the traditional slab fudge, but that product has a kind of 14-day shelf life because there's no preservatives in it. It is literally whipped into shape, and it just eventually will just dry out ever so slightly. But then we have a production kitchen and factory just outside Canterbury, and there we make a different type of fudge and other confectionery that has a slightly longer shelf life by using butter is the main ingredient to just extend it to around 7 months, which is our wholesale product. And we've just in February, launched a new range we call our kind of pantry collection of traditional confectionery favourites aimed rather than our kind of gift boxes, which you maybe might feel extra guilty about opening and sitting in front of the TV with, a box of artisan crumbly fudge that's just as good to gift as it is to enjoy yourself. That's kind of the kind of idea around this new range, and it's all traditional nostalgic flavours.
I can see that because there's these beautiful boxes, but actually when I opened it, there's a pack here with about 6 or 7 pieces.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's too naughty that I've just opened it just for myself while I'm sitting here chatting to you. I mean, this is just lovely. The raspberry flavour that comes through on this coconut ice, it's called, but it's raspberry. Coconut ice with tangy raspberry. It really has got tangy raspberry. I feel like I can taste raspberry seed. How have you done that? Have you used proper raspberries?
Yeah, we only ever use real fruit, fresh fruit in the products that we make. That particular product in our production kitchen is made in exactly the same manner as the shop product, actually. It is still boiled in a large 10-kilo copper cauldron. It is worked and then it's cast into these trays of, we do 2. One is kind of a rich coconut confectionery, and then the other is made, it's the same confectionery but made with raspberry, and we pour them onto each other so they're layered up and they have to be cut very quickly or they merge together and get quite brittle. So it's all about kind of time, and it's the building might be, there might be fluorescent lights, it might not be have the old world charm of one of our historic shops, but it's the same method. And I think that's why our gifting products, we have the same reputation, because they know they're going to get the same kind of handcrafted dedication that they get with the products that they can see through the shop windows.
Yeah, and it is a really premium gift. I've seen some of your other gift range items. They're really beautiful. I was going to say, where can you buy Fudge Kitchen apart from your 4 shops? 4 shops? 6? Windsor?
Yeah.
York?
You started in the middle. Windsor, York.
Oxford? Canterbury?
No, we are reopening a shop in Oxford. That is the plan. Our building was sold during the pandemic, so we're desperate to get back. But no, Bath, Cambridge, Canterbury, Edinburgh, Windsor and York.
Amazing. Yeah. Tourism capitals of the country.
Oh, I know.
Sure.
Yeah. The business started out in theme parks originally because it's very common in the States to have fudge shops in theme parks. And I think one of our first ever shops was in Chessington. back in the 80s. And then eventually we opened in cathedral cities, not just for the tourists, but because of the student population.
Amazing.
Which we still have to this day.
Amazing. So, but the new pantry range, you said it's about nostalgia. So there's some other flavours that you said I haven't got here today, but there's some other flavours you wanted to talk about.
So 2 very traditional fudges. The slab fudge is very creamy to the, texture-wise, and sold it by the slab. And then our gourmet butter fudge is, again, a very soft fudge that's all hand-decorated and beautifully presented in gift boxes. But we're often asked about people who want like a really traditional crumbly fudge like their nan used to make. And
a tablet, like a Scottish tablet type thing.
Sort of. We are working on a Scottish tablet at the moment, but that's not what it is. Yeah. We've actually just sent some up to Edinburgh for taste testing by people who know their stuff. Yeah. But it's more like kind of, it's bags of crumbly fudge, which are made with condensed milk rather than a whipping cream. And it's got a slightly different texture, and it's sold similar to your coconut ice. It's in smaller cubes, and the texture, it's got the same rich flavour, but there's a bit more bite to it. And we've introduced 2 flavours: salted caramel, because you absolutely can't go wrong with that, and a really lovely vanilla fudge. Mostly because, we had some interesting meetings recently with luxury department stores who we're working on some projects with, and one of their questions was, what's really hot right now? And I was like, did you know the hottest thing right now? Vanilla. It is absolutely, I know, but our top-selling flavour in our shops has been salted caramel for the last 5 years. And then we introduced clotted cream, and it crept up, and it is those traditional flavours. For most people, fudge is a flavour as much as it is a product. I think they expect it to taste like toffee or caramel or clotted cream. That's what they're expecting. The weird and wacky flavours are brilliant. And I think if you're a bit of a fudge connoisseur, then there's something for everyone. But, the hardcore purists, it's all about the classics.
Absolutely. And although I'm not tasting it on air, there is actually an opportunity, isn't there, to win a collection of some of these new pantry flavours. And we're going to run a competition through our Instagram, either on the Fudge Kitchen Instagram or the Food Rebels, which is food_rebels_ on Instagram. So we are going to have a little collection of these different fudges to give away, and there will be details on social media. So check that out after you've listened to the show. You could also buy it on the website, can't you, before I forget?
Yeah, you could buy it online, and it's also now available in John Lewis and select independent specialty retailers.
We'll go with that. That sounds good. Amazing. You call it damn delicious, don't you? That's like, is that your kind of strap line for the company?
Well, it used to be devilishly different was our kind of strap line, and then it changed to devilishly delicious. I can't remember. I think it was because it was a little bit before my time, I think, when that strap line was first brought about. But actually, it was about being a bit rebellious. I think it was about this. I think one of the strap lines I saw on a bag once was like, "This ain't your grandma's fudge," or something like that. It was that the flavours were quite innovative. The format was very different, and it is. You do get people who go up to a fudge shop and they walk in. They're like, "You want how much for a slice of fudge?" But it's like, yeah, but try it and see how it's made, and talk to the guys about the ingredients. It is. It's good stuff.
It's proper, yeah. And it's got that creaminess. It is different to the kind of fudge that you probably made at home when you were a child. But it's creamy, and it feels so rich and luxurious and sweet. It's that kind of sweet that kind of makes your skull tingle sometimes, but in a good way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I always love my favourite. I think my favourite flavour of our slab fudge is we do a dark chocolate and sea salt, which a lot of people are not massive fans of dark chocolate because they expect it to be bitter. But with the sugar in it, it literally just tastes like a really rich brownie. It's so good,
and lifted by that pinch of sea salt as well.
Exactly. So it doesn't taste as sweet as you think it's going to be. It's really good.
And you've used such beautiful kind of ingredients, haven't you? Everything's always fresh. Everything's always as natural as possible. So it's actually quite clean label.
We try and source all of because the main ingredients are sugar and cream, And we use local dairies for all of our cream. Even the sugar is grown in the UK and the Netherlands because we use beet sugar as opposed to cane sugar, which was a kind of move that we made, not only for kind of to be carbon footprint conscious, but also to be socially conscious of the impact of slave labor in cane sugar industry.
Yeah.
And actually it was a pretty good choice. I mean, was for those reasons, it was a good move, but also, especially with the issues brought upon by climate change, it's a less volatile product choice or choice at source. And the same goes for our chocolate. We buy all of our chocolate from a farmer-owned consortium in Colombia. So it's almost kind of guaranteed transparency in the supply chain for it, which is something that we're quite adamant about protecting.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. We had Ella from Fatso on the show, and she was talking about the chocolate that they use, which comes from a farmer-owned, a farm in Colombia. And she'd done so much research into the most ethically sound cocoa supplier. And it's interesting that you guys have come up with the same, you come to the same answer. It just, kind of gives it validity that you guys are all doing your background research and making sure that you're going to the right people.
I think you have to. I mean, for us, like I said, I never thought I'd ever be considered a confectioner in my life, but you have to learn every single little thing, especially if you want to hold yourself accountable more than anything. Even yesterday, the team was sitting around looking at different sourcing options for vanilla. And we buy our vanilla from a very well-renowned producer, but vanilla is, when you buy vanilla, it has quite a high alcohol content to preserve it. But for some people particularly those who are following a halal diet, you can't use that product. So we're now sourcing alternatives because we have particular customers who only source halal, but you're kind of looking at their sourcing guides, you're looking at ours and trying to discover the Venn diagram of overlap where we're more than happy to use an alternative supplier to fit this particular product spec.
It's important.
And you have to, it is really important, and it's fascinating. I think really,
it's amazing. I'm so impressed at the journey that this company has gone on, and I continue to be a big supporter and massive fan of Fudge Kitchen.
Thanks.
So thank you so much. Unbelievably, we're out of time now, but thank you so much, Richard, Managing Director of Fudge Kitchen. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me, and enjoy the rest of that coconut ice.
I will do. And to our listeners, do check out the Instagram on our social media. You can either look at Fudge Kitchen or you can look at Food Rebels, and we will be running a competition on there.
Thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to Food Rebels, which is available on radio stations around the UK and further afield. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Audible. Please remember to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars or follow us. It makes such a difference, not just to our podcast and radio show, but it really helps to support the guests that come on the show with us. We're also on Instagram at food_rebels. So give us a follow, do get in touch. We love hearing from you and let us know what you think. Thanks so much for joining us, and make sure you taste the rebellion.